and dust this stuff off. What's going on, tubers? Welcome back to Blues Channel 66. Man, sad day in boxing. I know my brother's going through it. I've been calling him. He's not answering his phone. I know how my twin bro gets down. Because, as kids, my brother, he always boxed amateur. He was an amateur fighter. And I would always go to all of his fights. And I practiced and studied Muay Thai out the same boxing gym in Long Beach. Right there off of Anaheim and Pacific. The kickboxing gym. And my twin bro, his favorite two boxers is Sugar Ray Leonard, number one, and Marvin Hagler. Thousands of times watching those fights growing up as kids. I remember my brother used to always play those VHS tapes of the super fight constantly with Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler. And he also would play The War with Tommy Hitman Hearns versus Marvin Hagler. Man, that was brutal. We used to make jokes and say how Marvin Hagler dropped Hearns. He had a curl. The juice came out of his Jerry curl and he's laying down. And I heard that Tommy Hearns had broke his hand after hitting Hagler on his head. And he had split Hagler's forehead open. I guess that's why they call it The War. But man, R.I.P. to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Did Billy Crystal get that marvelous, so marvelous? Did he get that off of Marvin Hagler? This was a legend. Man, I know my twin bro going through it right now. That was his second favorite fighter. His idol was Sugar Ray Leonard. But Marvin Hagler was his second favorite fighter. I swear. Man. Hagler always remind me of Panthro from the Thundercats. That's what he reminded me of. But yeah, this was a hell of a fighter. A true fighter. He held the middleweight title for like 8 years straight, undefeated. Then he had a few losses, and then after he lost that split decision to Sugar Ray Leonard, at the age of 34, he retired from boxing. Forever. He never came back. That was my favorite fight. Next to The War with him and Tommy Hearns. I love the super fight because every time I watch it, it reminds me of my brother because, Sugar Ray Leonard is my brother's idol in boxing. And then just how I'm sitting there watching that fight round for round as a kid, as a teenager, and watching it with my brother. This was a real legendary fighter. Right here. Champion. R.I.P. once again to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Rest in peace, King.
in boxing history. That alone would be enough to put him on most people's Mount Rushmores of the greatest fighters of the modern era, having gone toe-to-toe with Tommy Hearns in 1985's fight known simply as The War. Maybe the three greatest action-packed rounds this sport has ever seen. And of course, Hagler's final fight, 1987, against that longtime rival I mentioned, the great Sugar Ray Leonard. As disputed a fight, Joe, as you can find in the modern times, still to this day, Hagler walked away with a split decision loss, and a year later he walked away from the sport for good, never to fight again, going on his own terms at age 34, becoming an actor in Italy where he spent most of his life post-boxing. He kept a very small, let's say, public footprint long after his career came to an end. But this man left it all in the ring, a true legend.
Yeah, that outcome may have been disputed, but the legacy will not be. BC, we appreciate your thoughts, your words, and your time. Again, marvelous Marvin Hagler, dead at the age of 66.